Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports. Coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful April the 17th, 2019. Grando Deportes, Big C. How's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, we've been having a throwback day down south here. You know, the most requested songs on the radio today is Money Can't Buy Me Love, requested by President Donald Trump and Robert Kraft.
Well, we know they lie because money does buy a lot of love, Big C. A lot of people got married because they got the money. The love, I heard women say, you can fall in love, but you can hard to find the people with $1 billion. Big C, we all know it's fair. It's all fair in love and war. A lot of good things happening all over the sports universe, whether it's NFL. NFL hasn't kicked off yet, but NFL football is getting more attention than NHL hockey, which is in the playoffs, and the schedule came out for NFL today, and people are still talking about who's going to be drafted where. And a lot of great things happening in the world of NBA basketball. We know it's all great. I think it really is fantastic. And we'll get into a lot of good things that are happening all over the sports universe. I want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a host of Cadillac cars. Big C, on a beautiful day, today is the 17th, and I was up late last night reading, and I was flipping channels. And in the days of sports galore, we just got through the Tiger winning his 5th green jacket down at Augusta, Georgia. And you know, I think that chorus is discriminatory for people of color, unless you're Condoleezza Rice or someone of that ilk. And then I saw this program. I know you've seen it before because we talked about it. There were 2 movies. One was called Django, and it had the great Samuel L. Jackson, and it had the Jamie Foxx was in it, and then there was another one called
Don Johnson's in the movie.
Don Johnson's in there. There's
Leonardo DiCaprio.
DiCaprio's in there as well. And then I saw The Help, and that has some great actors in there.
Forrest Whitaker, won an Oscar for that movie.
Yeah, great movie, but it came with a lot of pain in it. And the pain, they had to overcome that pain. Now, these are great actors. They're all wealthy and well-known actors. But they played upon a time when people like you and I mean, when you really think about what Big C Sports is, people like you and I, we would have been lynched from trees. We would have been beaten, sold into slavery, not knowing where our parents are. Someone could come in and take your kids and take them and beat the crap out of them and sell them, and you had no rights. Now, I want to get your thoughts on that before I get into this next story. How do we even overcome that as a people, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's the strength of a culture when you come over the hardship that has been impressed on a culture here in this country. Well, when you think about the adaptation of slavery, Charlton, in this country, it's 400 years of oppression. Well, when you think about what people of African-American descent in this country have had to go through, Charlton, for 400 years, and you talk about political correctness in this country, you think about other cultures and other, social pockets of people, Charlton, have more equality and equity in this country than African Americans do.
Yeah.
We've actually moved to the back of the line, Charlton, when it comes to political correctness, when you think about how you treat certain segments of this culture, the LBG community, Charlton.
Yeah.
And even other ethnic groups that have come into this country.
Yeah.
African Americans who have been here and are the backbone of America, regardless of what people want to believe, as far as inventions, building of this great nation, Charlton. African Americans are in the forefront of it.
Yeah.
But they're still at the back of the line as far as what they receive as far as respect and admiration in this country, Charlton, and equality.
Yeah, and I think that's so powerful. And I don't know what you're going to say to this question, but when I saw the movie Django, and I saw men who are paid very well to make us go in our minds where we've never had to go physically, and I thought Jamie Foxx is brilliant. I know he's highly paid, highly thought about, but I really think his range as an actor is amazing. From Ray Charles, what he did in Django, he was even on that TV satire with
In Living Color.
In Living Color,
that's where he got his start.
That's where he got his start. But when especially what he did to Ray Charles. But there was a time in the movie Django, and I hope Michael Vick's not listening, but DiCaprio had them sick the dogs on a black man. Okay? These are actors that'll never have to deal with that garbage. But the fact that somebody did, and would you believe that even still to this day, you're more likely to win an award if you're African American and you're in a movie about being downtrodden and where we're being beaten up and marginalized and brutalized, you're more apt to win an award than if you are in Malcolm X. Can you say why that is, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you didn't have to go to the movie Django to see the police sinking the dogs on African Americans. I mean, that happened throughout the civil rights movement. So what you saw in slavery was even reenacted, Charlton, in real life in the 60s and 50s in America, where white police officers would readily sick dogs on African Americans who were seeking equality in this country. Charlton, one of the things that you have when you have African Americans winning Academy Award recognition for roles that are not also inspiring as far as uplifting roles, like, when Denzel was in Malcolm X, he should have won an Oscar for that. Spike Lee should have got Best Director in that movie. They did not, but they gave it to him for Training Day, Charlton, when he played a criminal. He could have easily gotten it in Remember the Titans. He could have gotten it in John Q. He could have also gotten it. There was a movie that he did down in Mexico, and I can't remember the movie right at the moment. It will come to me later. But that's what happens when you get older.
Right.
When you have these awe-inspiring, uplifting movies done by African-American directors, African-American actors, Charlton, this is something that society doesn't want you to recognize. The movie was Man on Fire, which I still think is Denzel Washington's greatest work.
Yeah.
So when we show African Americans in a negative light on the big screen, then you can portray that image into real life.
Yeah.
And say, that's what I expect of them.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to be positive individuals. You talked about the movies that help, but Forrest Whitaker, one of the greatest actors out there, Charlton, regardless of culture.
He's amazing.
He was given the Oscar for a demeaning role.
Yeah.
And when you go back and you look at some of the great roles that Forrest Whitaker had portrayed in his movie career, Charlton, this is the one that you could only give him the Oscar for. You think about Halle Berry in Monsters Ball, Charlton.
Yeah.
She's had some great roles. The Dorothy Dandridge story could have easily gotten an Oscar.
Oh, yeah.
But it didn't, Charlton. So when mainstream media wants to portray black life through movie lenses, they're not going to take the most positive portrayal role, Charlton, and give them prominence for it. They're not going to say, hey, this is the best.
Right.
We're going to give them when they're playing a demeaning role, as in Django.
Yep.
I mean, it was the thing that I look at in Django, Charlton, is that these stories have to be told.
Yeah.
Regardless of how demeaning they are, because life was demeaning to African Americans in those days.
Oh, yeah.
You have to tell the story. It's like if you look at the history books, Charlton, after Reconstruction and the Civil War, black history is omitted at that point. They talk about black slavery, but black history did not come back in, Charlton, in the history book, American history books, until Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yeah.
You take that whole era, Charlton, from the end of the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korean War. There's no black involvement, Charlton, in the history books of America. Even though they don't have them in school anymore, it does not exist. It's almost like African Americans were wiped off the face of the United States, Charlton, for 100 years.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it came back once the internet and knowledge came back, Charlton. But when you look at that, is that you take out all the insight of African Americans, Charlton, over that 100-year span.
Yeah.
The inventions of African Americans through medical, through science, all of those things, Charlton, were never put in the history books of America.
Yeah.
And African Americans weren't even allowed to play sports, Charlton, for a long time. It's like when we spoke a few shows ago, Charlton, and I said there needs to be 2 record books.
Yeah.
There needs to be an African American record book, Charlton, in every sport, and there needs to be a white record book in every sport. Because when they talk about an African-American athlete breaking a record, generally he's broken a record, Charlton, from a sport that he was not allowed to participate in socially decades ago. And now they want to say, well, you know, he's the greatest. They've always been the greatest, Charlton. They were just omitted from having the ability to show that.
Well, I think, and for people that may wonder, well, how could you do that? They do it for men and women. They separate men and women with track and field, even in basketball. Now, I want to bring this point up because we talked about those great movies, but they were very painful to watch at times. I mean, really, when you think about where we are today, we don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. Even with Big C Sports, there's not a lot of programs out there like us. Not tooting our own horns, but it's just a fact. I want to pay homage to just a great person. And people may not know who she is, Cathy Hughes. Catherine Liggins Hughes is an African-American entrepreneur, radio and television personality, and business executive. Now, juxtapose that to the movie Django and Hidden Figures even, and The Help. Now, Hughes she founded the media company, Radio One. You know how we always talk about getting an opportunity, and sometimes you knock on doors and people go, oh, you're black? Oh, well, where's the guy we talked to on the phone? And that's happened to me. I'm not even being flippant. So she founded Radio One. And when the company went public in 1999, she became the first African-American woman to head a publicly traded company. She's rich. She was born April 22nd, 1947. Think about that, Big C. When I contrast that to what people of color had to go through in the movie Django, that was a real portrayal of Jim Crow South, slavery, how we were beaten, had land stolen, taken away, and to this day, when I juxtapose that to the women that were Caucasian in those movies, how they were just given everything, and especially in The Help, where they were so cruel to the African American women that helped raise their own children. Now, how is that important to what we're doing today? Big C Sports is a radio program, we're a podcast company, we're heard all over the world, but something about Cathy Hughes, just like Big C Sports, she owned it. She founded that Radio One. I want you to juxtapose that and what she went through to Django and how we were just told no. She owns over 50 stations, and she was started out, they told her, no, you're not going to make it, you should go do something else. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about oppression in America, every African-American is aware of it. A lot of white society is not. And so movies like Django and any other slave-derived movie that has been produced and made in America needs to be. This is the way that you tell the story. Without telling the story, Charlton, how do you let all of society know? When you live in a privileged gated community, you don't know what's going wrong in a dilapidated part of town, Charlton, because you're always protected from it. You never even drive in that direction. So you're only going to get the news stories that come out of there. You don't understand the plight of these people. And many African Americans today, Charlton, don't understand the plight of slavery because they don't bother to do the research or even read about it, Charlton. You know, I've gone to the Museum of Natural African American History in Washington, D.C., Charlton, and spent a couple of days in this place on multiple occasions. This is a very heartfelt place when you're walking there, being a black American, Charlton, because you see what the ancestry of your culture had to go through for you to get to this point. And I think anytime you have a portrayal in the movie theater, Charlton, on the big cinema screen of what black people had to go through in this country, Charlton, I think it's an awakening because you have to make everyone aware of what occurred. You just can't say, you know, when you get together for family gatherings that this family member came from here and, you know, we went through this. You have to make everybody aware of it, Charlton. And when these movies come out, Charlton, they serve that purpose. They're hard to see. But seeing any type of crime is hard to see. You know, it's like saying that there was a good slave owner, that Thomas Jefferson he cared for his slaves. No, he didn't. He was a slave owner. He was a president who was a slave owner. Just like George Washington and 16 presidents that we've had in the United States that owned slaves. You're going to tell me that the slaves slept in the same house that he had, the same food that he had, the same amenities that he had? No, Charlton. They were slave owners, and they treated them like slaves. So when you tell me that there was a good slave owner, Charlton, that, you know, you got to hold this man in high esteem. No, he owned slaves. He denigrated human beings. He thought of them as nothing. All 16 presidents who owned slaves. So these are the stories that have to be told.
Yep.
You know, and anytime, regardless of how that movie's put together, the story is being told.
Yeah.
It's like that, you know, you say, well, we don't want to talk about that because it's hurtful, it's harmful.
Yeah.
No, you have to tell the truth. It's like being in court. You want to tell the truth.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing about the history of America. You have to tell the truth. How people felt about other people and that's the reason why they're still treated like they are today.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I'm reaching out to everybody, mainstream, African American, it doesn't matter who you are. You know how we talk about sports all the time? I saw something disheartening today on a TV program. It was I don't care the names, Jason Whitlock, and there was another guy that was there on the show with him, and they had this sidekick, a black man, and in some short pants like Daisy Dukes for men, and a cowboy hat and some type of jacket, it was stereotypical. I think about Django. I thought about that movie, and I said, we come this far with esteemed women like Mrs. Hughes, Kathy Hughes, and she owns her own networks, and then we still look up today, 2019, just out of Black History Month, and we're seeing this satire of shucking and jiving and doing the dozens. I said, no wonder it's hard for us to get ahead. But for young men watching that, listen to what I'm going to say. Kathy Hughes, you know, we talk about owning our own stuff, just like Big C Sports. Kathy Hughes was told no. Keep that in mind, everybody. She was told no a lot of times. I think about the movie The Help. She was told no. Kathy Hughes' net worth, an American entrepreneur, television and radio personality, and business executive. Her net worth, you can always hold on to your seat. She's worth $460 million, Big C. $460 million. And she was told no, just like the women in The Help. I want you to talk about the perseverance that black women have had raising kids. A lot had to work as nannies. They had to work taking care of white kids because society told them the same thing Miss Hughes heard. No, 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 no. She said yes to herself, and now she's worth $460 million, and she's not shucking and jiving on TV. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about the perseverance of women and even black women in America and what they've meant to the foundation of everything, you know, there's that analogy behind every great man is a woman. No, right next to every great man is a woman.
Yeah.
And when you think about Kathy Hughes and what she's aspired to be, Charlton, and being a trailblazer and a true leader in black society in America.
Yeah.
And for women, you know, to go out and to be able to create your own and not take no. Not to, when someone says no, you just bow your head and walk away.
Yeah.
All she wanted was an opportunity, Charlton.
Yeah.
And that's what anybody wants in jobs. You look at athletes, they want an opportunity to make a team, to be a professional, even to get into college.
Yep.
They want an opportunity. And when we look at Miss Hughes, she wanted an opportunity. She had a foresight of what she wanted to become.
Yeah.
How she was a leader. She did not take no. She did not kowtow to anybody, Charlton.
No.
She took the bulls and ran by the horn.
Yeah.
You opened the door and she ran through it, Charlton. She didn't tiptoe in.
Yeah.
She ran through the door. And that's what you have to do to be successful on any level. We look at athletes all the time being told no, being released by teams, having perseverance, to stand fast and keep trying, and eventually they'll make the team. We see the NBA playoffs going on now, Charlton. Think about how many players on active rosters throughout the regular season were on G League teams who spent years toiling in the G League, never giving up hope for that dream. That's what Miss Hughes did. She never gave up hope of what she aspired to be.
Nope.
She received an opportunity, Charlton, and she ran with it. And when you can create a network that is hiring other people, Charlton, that is providing lifelines of employment, paying their bills, she is just the people that you want to be around. You know, when you look at the networks around the country, Charlton, and you spoke about the show where you have to be denigrating to yourself for your network to keep you on when you're talking about Jason Whitlock.
It's
He's on with Marcellus Wiley, and he has a gentleman called Uncle Timmy that he has on the show. He's got this uncle that will play the buffoonish role. We've seen this in many satire movies before, Charlton, and they feel that for their sports show to have an edge, you have to create a satire of an African American playing roles.
Yeah.
And he cannot just be up there and deliver a message of knowledge about sports and individuals dressed in a suit.
Yeah.
So you take and create this role. There is no show, Charlton, that has any white broadcasters on it on television.
Nope.
That they bring out a dressed up clown,
a drunk,
give him a nickname, and say, okay, tell us about this athlete here.
Yeah.
And so for Jason Whitlock, he used to be on the mothership, and probably this is the reason why he's no longer there.
Yeah.
Is because he couldn't carry the mantra by himself, and so he had to create a clown role to be on Fox.
And I wonder.
And so he's created this role.
Yeah.
And he thinks that this is perpetuating black society or black broadcasters in the industry.
Yeah.
Because without playing that clown role, you're not on television.
Yeah.
But that's a representation of the rest of the black broadcasters, Charlton, that are out here trying to be progressive.
Yeah.
That are being professional about how they deliver the product to the listeners, whether it's television or radio, that you have to be a clown to be accepted on a certain network.
Remember when I told you how Zion Williamson was being called a freak, at Duke? He's not a freak. His parents did not name him that. When Krzyzewski went to recruit him, he didn't say, hey, I'm here to recruit your son, the freak. No, his name is Zion Williamson. But white media, mainstream media, they started calling him freak. Remember when I told you that black men are 10 times more likely to be evicted from school for the same behavior that white boys create? Well, if you look at people as freaks and the buffoon that Whitlock and that other guy Wiley had, would they ever have Harry Everett on their show or Michael Eric Dyson to expound on why that character is necessary? Why not have someone erudite and think to a higher level of intelligence? And again, maybe that's just who they are, but so they can speak for who they are. I want to just bring up one more thing, because as a people of color, I hate the fact that those guys are telling the story of African Americans. Don't you think that buys into Trump's garbage when POTUS says that black people
Look
are
at
ignorant?
the network that they're on, Charlton. What is the network of the president? It's Fox.
That's true.
So you have to play that role if you're going to be on Fox Network. If you're a black man in America, and it's the network of the president, you have to kowtow to what the president would portray black people as.
Yeah.
So Whitlock and Wiley have bought into that, along with Uncle Jimmy.
Yeah.
Playing the role that the president wants black people to be portrayed as.
Yeah.
And so they're happy with that. They go home, Charlton, look in the mirror, and they're smiling. They're getting a paycheck. But they're not, that old analogy, and I'll use it. When they say Uncle Tom, to portray black people that are sellouts, I'm not saying the guy's a sellout, but he's playing a pretty Thomas role, Joe.
Yeah.
A little step and fetch it act going on.
It reminded me of Django in the movie Django, how he had to play. There was a role that he took on with that actor, Sam Jackson, and the white actor.
Well, the part about Django, Charlton, when you look at it, when something was wrong with Boss, is we hurting Boss?
Yeah.
Something wrong with us, Boss?
Yeah.
You had nothing to do with Boss physically.
Yeah.
But whatever was bothering Boss, it was a we scenario.
Well, I would like to, and I don't know these gentlemen, but I would like to ask, Whitlock and Wiley to invite Michael Eric Dyson onto your show and have that skit played in front of him. Invite Harry Edwards, Dr. Harry Edwards, and have it played on their show, because, and the last thing I'll say, but
bring Cornell West on.
Dr. Cornell West. Bring Dr. Cornell West on. Yeah.
Bring him in.
Bring in Oprah. Bring in Oprah Winfrey. And then play that skit, and then ask why it's hard for black men to get jobs where they can show their kids something to be proud of. In San Francisco, out here in the Bay Area, this is weird. In San Francisco, since the 1960s, one of the most progressive cities in the world, would you believe the black population is less than half now in 2019 as it was in 1960? And it's because there's a bill in California, in fact, everyone needs to Google it. It's called Senate Bill 50. I know you want to know who won the game. I know we want to know, is Golden State going to get a new $2 billion arena? Is LeBron James going to recruit whoever to the Lakers? Senate Bill 50, it displaces black Americans. People don't know that. So they may not vote for it because they want to watch the game. Think about it. It's almost in San Francisco, there are areas that South San Francisco used to be called Hunters Point, predominantly African-American communities. Some of those houses are so expensive, you can't live in them. You can't refinance them because you don't have the income for them. So people come in and offer them money and they're moving out. They're gentrifying that neighborhood. But when you lose half the population in a city like San Francisco for black Americans, Big C, if you look at Oakland shipping yards, That's where a lot of produce and a lot of merchandise comes into California and the United States from the Oakland Harbor. That used to be jobs filled by black men. Those jobs are mostly, they're gone, Big C. And it's weird, just being in San Francisco the other day, I don't know how we're going to change it if we keep having Whitlock and Wiley shucking and jiving instead of knowing what's affecting their parents and grandparents all over this country. I just hate that type of garbage on TV, but they paid them, so they did it. Just give me your feeling. Is that black flight happening all over the country? I know it just can't be San Francisco. Your thoughts?
Charlton, this black flight goes back to the 1800s if you really want to look into it in depth. You think about the most famous park in America, Central Park in New York. In 1855, Charlton, in Central Park, there were 250 African-American homes.
Yeah.
In 1855 in Central Park, it was a black neighborhood, Charlton.
Yeah.
The city and state of New York imposed eminent domain to evict these black people, Charlton, from this area.
Yeah.
They took their homes without compensation, Charlton.
Yeah.
They kicked them out onto the streets. They had been living there since 1829, Charlton. They owned the land in Central Park. Central Park in New York, the most real estate, the highest priced real estate in America, was owned by black Americans from 1829 to 1855, Charlton, until the city and state of New York invoked eminent domain. So when you talk about gentrification, this has been going on almost 200 years in America, where you can go in and not just price African Americans out, but take their property. And people will say, well, it was for everybody. No, it wasn't, because the blacks who lived there received nothing for their property, as it happened in many times throughout the United States after Reconstruction and slavery.
And couldn't get along.
The property was taken from black people. When you had purchased and owned and developed, now it's taken away from you and you're told to go try to find another place where you can survive.
And you couldn't get loans because of redlining and all that stuff. And I want to. That's really good knowledge, Big C. And I know Whitlock and Wiley will talk about that as they have a black man shucking and jiving as he's some buffoon. And I hate that because their kids can't be too proud of that. And the white men that produce that garbage, shame on you. Big C Sports. That's why they all go into Big C Sports. Unless you're just an ignorant person, pick up a book and read history before you embarrass your parents and grandparents. And that's a shame that still exists to this day. I want to just touch on something with the world of sports real quick, Big C. I know when we talk about jobs and who gets jobs where, we look at the Lakers. Who are they going to bring in? We don't know. But I do hear this some talk about Monty Williams. Maybe their next head coach. He's an assistant for the 76ers. They just interviewed him. I want to get your feeling, because as an African-American man going from major city to major city, now he's rich. But the average person working a 9 to 5, with this Senate Bill 58 or Senate Bill 50, a lot of people are going to be replaced because there's no restrictions on housing escalating prices. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if Monty Williams is a good fit for the Los Angeles Lakers. Tyronn Lue, to me, is the perfect fit. When you look at what he had to work with in Cleveland, a similar type roster to what he would have to work with in Los Angeles. He has had a personal relationship with LeBron James. The medias want to say is that you're giving LeBron James too much power because he won't answer their questions. It's amazing that the media doesn't want a black man to have power in a sporting organization.
Just like Django.
But if the Lakers are to move forward, then Tyronn Lue is the perfect fit.
And I hope that Tyronn gets that chance. And even to this day, because, for some reason, I was just up watching something. I was watching these programs, and there's a program called Billions that I like watching. I think it's on Showtime. There's one called Action, and it's also, I believe, on Showtime. And it just caught my eye with The Help. And I've seen that movie many times, but it reminded me of how a lot of, African-American women had to go through so much garbage just to put food on the table for their kids. And then you hear about Kathy Hughes, who bought a radio station after she was being told no by white men many times. And she, think about, the lady's worth $460 million, but she was told no more than she was told yes. So for anybody trying to become something, just like Big C Sports, we're heard all over the world now. There was a time we were not. We were only heard in a local Northern California city. And there were a lot of people that said, no, you don't, no, we don't want you to have this, no, no, no. Don't listen to the no's. Listen to the yes. In the world of the playoffs, NBA playoffs, I think about what happened in Portland last night. I know Westbrook has this mentality that everybody loves. They love it until they lose, and then they say he needs to change. I don't think he needs to change anything. Just like Kathy Hughes, keep pushing forward. They may not get through the Portland series because Damian Lillard's a baller. He's always been a baller since he grew up in Oakland. Give me your feeling on OKC. Their series really hasn't started until they lose at home, and they still haven't played at home yet, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, who was the higher seed in the playoffs between the two teams, Charles?
Yeah, that's the Portland.
Portland.
Yeah.
Portland was the higher seed of the two teams. They had a better regular season record than OKC.
Yeah.
Everyone gave OKC the edge going into this series because Portland is not seen on television in the Eastern Time Zone.
Yeah.
OKC is seen in the Eastern Time Zone more than what Portland has been.
Yeah.
So it's based on what the media said. But everyone looks at Westbrook as being this alpha male on the basketball court, being out of Los Angeles, playing at UCLA. I don't know if anybody on the East Coast or really in television knows that Damian Lillard is what got that West Coast dog in him also. He's from the Bay Area. He's right there from Oakland.
Oakland, yep.
So when you talk about somebody coming from a tough area, that's Damian Lillard.
Yeah.
He's not going to back up. He has that same mentality as beast mode. He came from the same area that beast mode.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch. So that's the type of individual you're going to get. Bill Russell grew up there also.
Yeah.
So when we talk about some of the great winning athletes, that's what you're getting in Damian Lillard. He went to Weber State.
Yeah.
So he was always thought of as less of an athlete.
Yeah.
He's even been looked at that way in the NBA. But when you look at a guy who competes, think about All-Star Weekend in the NBA, Charlton.
Yeah.
He competed in the slam dunk contest. He competed in the three-point shot contest. He competed in the skills contest.
Yeah.
That lets you know that he's an alpha male right there because he didn't back down from anything.
No.
And he hasn't backed down from anything in the playoffs. Portland has had some unfortunate early exits in the past, but right now, led by Damian Lillard, Charlton,
Yeah.
OKC doesn't have an answer for it.
Yeah, the guys, I remember growing up and spending a lot of time as a young boy in Oakland. My parents lived there. You know, grandfather owned service stations and just opportunity around that environment. You learn how to be aggressive. You have to be persistent and go take what you want. You know, we have a lot to talk about today, but I'm really passionate about what I saw when I read across Django. And then I saw Wiley and I can't remember the other guy's name, shucking and jiving on TV this morning with a black character, knowing how much garbage black men and women had to go through in 2019 to put that garbage on TV. I just think it's a shame. Big C, you know out here I drink a lot of water in California. We're going to come up on what's called the Big C pause, and we'll be back in just a moment. All right, Big C, I'm back now. I told you we use the bathroom fast in California. We're learning this thing called meditation, and with meditation, you can do a lot of things a lot faster than you good old boys down south, so hopefully I'll teach you how to do that someday. Back to the world of the NBA. Kawhi Leonard, he played like the king of Toronto. And the way he played was like LeBron James that went back to the Eastern Conference, Big C. Dominating the game last night, getting them back on track against Orlando. But now the series is tied at 1. They get a chance to go down to Florida and see if they can have that same magic. But one thing I want to get your thoughts on before I even ask you to comment on Kawhi Leonard, just watching some TV programs and seeing that the area of Toronto, what I love about Toronto, they have what used to be called Sky Dome. I don't know what the sponsor is now. It's where the Blue Jays play. But they have that big tower. I think it's a CNN tower, but I'm not sure. And then they have the skyscrapers of downtown Toronto. It's such a beautiful place. But whether it's the Maple Leafs or the Argonauts or the Blue Jays or the Raptors, that whole city turns out to support their sports franchises. And I look at the fact that when you look at the kid, Isaiah Thomas, he helped expand basketball into Canada, and Kawhi Leonard looks like a bigger version of Isaiah Thomas, Big C, from back in the day. Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at that Toronto region, it's really the only true sports city in Canada when you look at it that has football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. And the whole country, especially when it comes to the Raptors, Charlton, pulls for this one team.
Yeah.
And so they get a lot of fanfare throughout the country wherever they go. And it's a beautiful city. I've been there a couple times. Beautiful metropolitan city. It's a world culture city. And when you think about the city of Toronto, Charlton, 2/3 of the population are immigrants. So when you think about a world-class metropolitan city,
Yeah.
that a third of its population are immigrants who have come in from elsewhere.
Yeah.
They're welcome up there, not like we are here in the United States where, you want to build a wall. I think Canada's like, bring us your tired and poor and anybody else who wants to show up.
Yeah.
That's their mantra. But when you looked at Kawhi Leonard last night having 14 points in the first quarter, setting the tone for that game, the Raptors were up against the wall. They took the Orlando team real lightly. And I don't think anybody knows 3 players on the Orlando roster, Charlton.
Right.
The media kept having to go to the guy, when they were broadcasting the game, this is so-and-so.
Yeah.
But, this is the team, and this is what happens when you have teams, Charlton, that have nothing to lose. When you're an 8th seed in the playoffs or 7th seed, you don't have anything to lose.
No, you don't.
But Toronto took them lightly in that first game, Charlton. They came back and they played basketball the way that they should play basketball.
Yeah.
This was a team that was the best team in the Eastern Conference last year. They made a trade to bring in Kawhi Leonard.
Yep.
DeMar DeRozan was sent to San Antonio, and it seems to have paid off in Game 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Toronto. I thought Toronto would. I mean, we can't predict anything because we don't know with prop betting and everything. Big C, I understand the prop betting's are big in Vegas and cropping up all over the country, but I really like the way that city represents that basketball team. It's just amazing. San Antonio, I thought Pop could get it done. His coaching for 21 years, they've been a staple in the playoffs in the NBA. They had a big lead last night. I think they had a 31-point lead at one time. In Denver, the Mile High City, they let it get away. And so the Nuggets come back and even that series at 1 apiece. But I still like the way Pop can coach. And I think if any team can learn more from a loss, it might be San Antonio in this series. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is what the playoffs have been. Comeback stories.
Yeah.
And coming back, making the series competitive. We're not going to see anybody blowing anybody out in a 4-game sweep here in this first round.
No.
Everybody's even up. And well, except for OKC. They could get swept.
Yeah.
But when you look at these teams, you have to hold home court when you have it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But even when you split at home court, you've lost home court advantage because now you're going back to your opponent's home arena.
Yep.
They have the advantage because they wanted to get 1 in your house at least.
Yeah.
Now they have 2 at home that they can get you on.
Yeah.
But when you look at San Antonio and you look at what Denver had done throughout the regular season, they saw what San Antonio did to them defensively, and they made the adjustments.
Yeah.
But to be able to come back, this is the second team that we've seen come back from a 30-point deficit here in the first round of the playoffs and get a victory. The Clippers had done it against the Warriors, and now we've seen that Denver is able to do it at home.
Yeah.
How will that carry over into Game 3? That's what you really have to be concerned about. Can your team overcome having that huge deficit, overcome and losing a game?
That's a very good point. So I want to get your thoughts tonight. Indiana's at Boston. I don't know which way to go in that series because going into the series, Indiana looked like they had the advantage, even though there's no Oladipo. But you look at how Boston has a history, and maybe they were saving some of that mojo for the playoffs. Tonight, Pacers are at Boston. Game's already underway. Give me your feeling on Boston might be tougher than I thought at home, especially they have that playoff moxie, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Horford has been injured, Charlton, in this series for Boston, their big center. I think it's very important that he's able to play. He has a toe problem, and in the NBA, if you got a toe problem, you might want to go see Shaq and let you know how bad that can hurt your career.
Yeah, yep, that's true.
But, Boston is a team that's season-tested. They have a lot of playoff experience on this roster versus Indiana. They were in Eastern Finals last year, 1 game short of going to the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I
think they still have that moxie that they can get past this round and possibly be back to the championship round against possibly Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But, this is a game they have to have tonight against Indiana.
And think about a game you got to have that they're probably... You ever go to a store and you want to buy something, but it just costs too much, or somebody told you no, you can't have it. Like in the movie The Help, they told them no. Some of those maids were so horrible. You wonder if there is a God. How in the world did the society end up like that? But Detroit at Milwaukee. If anyone's going to be told no, like Kathy Hughes, it might be Detroit at Milwaukee. It would be probably a bigger upset for Detroit to beat Milwaukee than it was for the Clippers to come back and beat Golden State. Give me your feelings, and if that's an accurate statement, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Detroit really doesn't have a chance in this series against Milwaukee. I mean, I looked at the first game when Andre Drummond got kicked out of the game by the officials for a flagrant.
Yeah.
You know, that was the best opportunity they had. Blake Griffin has been injured. He hasn't been there. So they're lacking offensive firepower going up against this great Milwaukee team.
Yeah.
Giannis and the group there in Milwaukee, they're destined to get to the NBA Finals this year.
Yeah.
And I don't see anything slowing them down in this series not getting a sweep.
Well, they look like a team that's just destined. It was like Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas. Everyone thought Tyson was going to win. But Buster in prop betting had his own mind. Big C, prop betting has been around for a long time. And now another game that feels like I climb Half Dome down in Yosemite National Park. It's a nice climb. It's about 8,400 feet to the top. And it's a lot steeper than you think it is, especially when you look at the cables that you got to climb. That was several years back. I don't need to climb it anymore. But it feels like Utah's trying to climb Half Dome. But Houston's a flat land territory. But they're trying to climb that mountain called James Harden. And I don't know if they can, because Houston's up. At home, they're a different team than they are on the road. Give me your feeling. Can Utah go in there and sneak a win in Texas? I doubt it. Your thoughts?
They just have too many shooters on this Houston team, and as long as Chris Paul stays healthy, Charlton, they're going to be real tough to beat. And you got this defensive stopper in the middle named Quint Capella, who missed an early part of the season and made that defense vulnerable. But as long as you have somebody who can protect the rim and somebody who can disperse the ball, James Harden is a much better defensive player than people give him credit for, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he's always good for 30-plus a night in the playoffs.
Yeah, I really like what you said. Did you say playoffs? Playoffs, Big C. I want to go to the NHL. Now, we talk about a home field advantage, home court advantage, if someone has the upper hand. Tampa Bay Lightning, I don't know what they can say about their loss. By far and away the best team in the NHL this season. They were swept away in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, let's talk about, should the coach be fired, John Cooper? I don't think so, because they have the best record. How do you fire someone who has the best record? It's just called an upset, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you got to ask the Toronto Raptors, how do you fire somebody after losing with the best record being swept in the first round of the playoffs as they did last year in the NBA?
With Casey, that's
they
right.
They fired Casey in Toronto.
Yeah.
You know, also you got to ask the St. Louis Cardinals, how did you fire Steve Wilkes after having him for 1 year? So, you know, when we look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, their coach, you know, he's secure. They gave him a contract extension during the regular season. You know, he's on board, you know, on record until 2023, whether he'll last that long or not. But, you know, having the best record in the NHL, everybody guns for you. This is the first time in 23 years that a team that has won the President's Trophy has been swept in the first round. 23 years since this has happened. But, you know, anybody can beat anybody on any given night in sports. And Tampa was right for the picking, Charlton. You know, coming in there that they had been the best team. So you looked at their vulnerabilities. You know, only 20 times during the regular season they didn't come out victorious. But 4 times in the playoffs they came out unvictorious.
And that's a shame. It's a tough road to hold, because everybody is always looking at the undefeated team or the team with the best record. You looked at in the NFL, we had the Rams last year and we had Kansas City. Those teams were, a lot of people expected them to go on and win the Super Bowl, or at least play each other in the Super Bowl, but you don't always get there just because you have the best record. So for the people down in Tampa, you know, I mean, they just have to keep this up and come back next year. I want to get your feeling, Boston at Toronto. Toronto's a great city. Now, we know they have the Raptors in town. They also have, with the Maple Leafs, what a great city. People talk about L.A. and about New York and Boston and Chicago and San Francisco with multiple great sports teams. You have the Raptors and you have the Maple Leafs in the playoffs. Toronto's a happening city, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's great this time of the year to have 2 teams in the playoffs. You talked about Boston. They have the Bruins and the Celtics in the playoffs. And you can look at Toronto. When you talk about these Eastern Seaboard teams, Charlton, there's something about the moonshine that they drink on the East Coast. You know, they will get you 2 teams into the playoffs at the same time. But when you think about the Maple Leafs, they're one of the original 6 as well as the Boston Bruins in the NHL. And it's been a long time since the Maple Leafs have been able to hoist Stanley's Cup. You know, it would be great for hockey. When you talk about teams winning. If the Toronto Leafs could win the Stanley Cup, Charlton, and they have not won it since the 60s. it would be a great uplifting for that entire city and country.
Yeah. Well, the first time I saw the Dallas Stars play in person, it was down in Miami. And they had a chance to play against the Florida team. And now they're at home against Nashville. The Predators, it's just weird that you got hockey in the South. I understand Dallas, bigger city. Nashville, not as big of a city, but they really support that franchise. And has anyone ever written to the owner about why they throw live fish out on the floor, on the ice, and people were trying to get it and cook it? They thought that was a waste of food. That was blasphemy, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, just catfish is what they throw out there, talking. They throw catfish out there. If you think about hockey being played in the southern part of the United States, the Tampa Bay Lightning down in Florida.
Yeah.
You got the Florida Panthers in Miami.
Yeah.
The Nashville Predators, the Carolinas. All of these teams playing in southern warm belts of the United States.
Yeah.
But Nashville seems like the oddest city that you would have hockey in, talking. The country music capital of the world. But the Predators just 2 years ago were in Stanley Cup final against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's right. Yeah.
This is a team, Charlton, that has a great fanfare. And when it gets down to this time of the year, they're leading their series 2-1 against the Dallas Stars, who have won a Stanley Cup before.
Yeah.
But the Predators, Charlton, with P.K. Subban, an African-American, being a top-flight player on the ice, has an excellent opportunity to get back to Stanley Cup once again.
Yeah, he does have the opportunity to get back there. And we hope that it all works out for him, especially in men of color in that sport. Sometimes you get a lot of things that people don't hear about on TV. Calgary. I heard of Calgary Stampede, which is a great event. I've even known people who've been to it up in Canada, the Calgary Stampeders for the CFL, and now you have the Calgary and in the NHL playoffs. They're at Colorado, and you think about the Avalanche and how Mile High. Now you contrast those two cities, Denver, Colorado, and Toronto, Canada, and I would say that the city of Toronto has more fanfare than in Colorado, especially when I would say for basketball. I know people are high up in the air about basketball in Denver with the Nuggets, but there's just the atmosphere around the Raptors. Would you compare those two cities for their affinity for sports? Where you have the CFL with the Toronto Argonauts, the Denver Broncos, of course, and you have the basketball teams. They just don't have, the baseball too. They have everything, all the major sports. What city do you think has a better fanfare in those two cities, Toronto and also Colorado? Big C, your thoughts in Denver?
Well, Charlton, it's going to be hard to beat Colorado when you think about the multiple Super Bowls that the Denver Broncos have been in. The Rockies have not been to the World Series.
Yeah.
But you look at the Nuggets, they're a persistent playoff team in the NBA. They're the second best record in the West.
Yep.
The Avalanche have won a Stanley Cup before, Charlton.
Yeah.
It's been since not the Argonauts, but the Maple Leafs have won one.
Yeah.
And, I like what's going on in Denver because the altitude always affects your opponent.
Makes it difficult, yeah.
They have to adjust for the height. But when you think about two cities, the Calgary Flames, the Flames originally used to be in Atlanta. They were the Atlanta Flames back in 1979. They moved to Calgary.
Okay.
So they were an originally U.S.-based team prior to going up north, as we've seen teams from up north come down south as of late.
Yeah.
But this is a great series, Charlton, of two of the mountainous region teams. And right now, the Calgary Flames have a 2-1 advantage in that series and looking to take a 3-1 lead.
I wonder how the show with Wiley and Whitlock with the, playing the stereotypical uncle that's on their scantily clad. That just bothers me, Big C. I hate that, but I hope that the teams up in Canada, no matter what sport it is, are having the appreciation that they should get, because oftentimes they don't get that. We assume that America is the greatest, country in the world for sports, but when you look at Canada, that'd be great to see a lot of cities celebrate like that. In the world of baseball, Major League Baseball, think about the game in Chicago today. White Sox, Tim Anderson, he was ejected after being hit by a pitch. Now, the next batter hit a home run, and the dugout's emptied, but would you believe the pitcher stayed on the game? With the TV, they focused on the game. They didn't try to show all the junk that happened, because we know that happens in baseball. And Big C, I like the way the networks handle that. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, one of the things I look at in baseball is they have all these unwritten rules.
Yeah.
So why do you have rules if they're unwritten rules? If a player hits a home run off of you and celebrates and not just round the base, you have the authority to come back and beam him the next time he has at bat.
Yeah.
That unwritten rule should be gone. Just like Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred has an opportunity to make Major League Baseball right.
Yeah.
He should follow the rules of the NBA. If you leave the bench during a scuffle, you're suspended for a game.
Yeah.
So every time we have these bench-clearing balls, Charlton, in baseball, where somebody gets beamed or whatever, and all of a sudden you have 12 guys run out of the dugout and you got everybody out there, they're never going to have a fight.
No.
They're not going to hit each other because their hands are what they make their living with, Charlton. You can't hold the bat, you can't feel the ball. Just like a basketball player. You break a fist, break a knuckle, you can't shoot the jump shot.
No,
you can't do that.
No, you can't do that, Big C.
So there's never going to be a scuffle. So what the NBA did to correct that, Charlton, these fake melees that teams are going to have, is that they say you leave the bench, you're suspended for a game and fined. Major League Baseball needs to implement this because they have these unwritten rules. Let's write down a written rule because I've seen this for decades. Players leaving the dugouts wanting to get in these fake fisticuffs. We saw it with Yasiel Puig a week or so ago. He was ejected from a game. Never hit anybody.
No.
But he was ejected from the game. And he was in the game. He didn't come from the dugout. So this is what Major League Baseball really needs to address. They talk about shortening the length of games. How long does one of these fake melees take? 3 to 5 minutes. Everybody's standing on the field. That's 3 to 5 minutes. We could have been watching a pitcher throw pitches.
Hold me back.
So Major League Baseball needs to implement a fine and a suspension rule when you have these bench clearing episodes.
It'd be nice. I mean, it's in the right direction, Big C. Tonight's schedule, of course, on the East Coast, nothing's much bigger than Boston at the New York Yankees. Cleveland's at Seattle. Pittsburgh is at Detroit. San Francisco is at Washington. You have Baltimore at Tampa Bay. Maybe Tampa Bay can turn some things around for the sorrows they're feeling about the Lightning not advancing in the NHL playoffs. Chicago is at Miami. Arizona's at Atlanta. Toronto's at Minnesota. You have the Angels at Texas. And Houston is at Oakland. So a lot of good things happening in the world of Major League Baseball. I want to, before we close out on talking about some things in the NFL, I'm not a golfer. I love golf. I love watching. My brother got me into watching golf, Big C. But 3 days after this epic fifth win at Augusta, Georgia, at the age of 43 years old, the great Tiger Woods is still shaking 22 years after his first. You think about what the world is and how sports has always been something that brought people together, and how Tiger Woods, his demise was manufactured by media. It wasn't something that he'd done wrong. His stuff is personal, and who knows what type of relationship rich people have, okay? I've heard of all kinds. But give me your feeling on, it still resonates well. That fifth green jacket, only one person has more than that, and that's the great Jack. Give me your feeling on what happened again, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, 22 years ago when Tiger Woods won his first green jacket down at Augusta in the Masters, he was the first African-American, Charlton, to be able to put on that green jacket and those hollow grounds. And 22 years later, he's still the only African-American who's been able to put that jacket on, and he's done it 5 times. But what he did, Charlton, was wake up all the hollows of the golf world. Is that he made golf relevant again. People say, well, no, they always play golf. No, he made golf relevant again. It made people wake up and say, there's hope, there's a chance that I can be competitive. And especially people who've had physical impairments, Charlton, had multiple operations. Tiger Woods is an inspiration to so many people beyond just the game of golf. The game of life, the game of perseverance, the game of comebacks. He created all of that this past weekend at Augusta. When you've been down and the society has turned their back on you, the public, the media, they've all turned their back on, and they've told the world how bad a person you are. You think about Robert Kraft and his attorneys today are down in Florida getting a hold up on the release of his sex tapes down in Florida, in Jupiter, Florida.
Thank God for that.
Tiger Woods didn't have any sex tapes to release.
No.
You think about how the same media who is taking Robert Kraft with kid gloves are still showing videos of Tiger Woods' crashed SUV his broken out rear window that his white wife knocked out of the car,
Yeah.
and talking about his sexual exploits of extramarital affairs.
Yeah.
But they're treating Robert Kraft with kid gloves. Robert Kraft is out there dealing in the sex traffic trade.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he brought the people into the country, but he was helping the people keep them in entrapment because he was giving them money to do it.
Yeah, and
You know, Florida has a very loose law that you can release criminal evidence if it's recorded.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to do it. The prosecutor's office is supposed to do it. His attorneys are in there fighting against it, saying that it will, you know, it will taint the jury pool.
Yeah.
That it would be hard for him to get a fair trial.
Yeah.
If you've committed a crime, how is it hard for you to get a fair trial if they have physical evidence of it?
Yeah.
That's what physical evidence is. But Tiger Woods gave everyone hope when he won the Masters this past week, and you can still feel the shaking through the South.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what he did. And you know, you think about the old-time golfers who sit back and think about what Tiger Woods has done for everybody.
Yeah.
It's like I said in a show a couple episodes ago, Charlton, when Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicholson was winning golf. It was a gentleman's game.
Yeah.
That people just clapped.
Yeah.
That's all they did. Since Tiger Woods has been on the PGA circuit,
with Nicklaus,
people yell and applaud in every kind of way because they're taking selfies.
Yeah.
They all want to be a part of history because everything that Tiger Woods has done since he's been on the PGA Tour, Charlton, has been history.
Yeah.
It has been history. Every tournament he's won has been history because, as I keep saying, there needs to be two record books.
Yeah.
It needs to be a white record book in sports, and there needs to be a black record book in sports. Because if Tiger is the first African-American to play at Augusta in the Masters, then there was no opportunity before him for blacks to be a part of those hollow grounds and the records that were being chased there.
Well,
just like in many other sports, Charlton, blacks were not involved. And we need to have that in society, just as you spoke about. There is a record book for women's sports because they don't play with the men, and vice versa. Blacks were not allowed to play with whites up until the 40s. So there needs to be an African-American record book in every sport, Charlton.
Well, I doubt if that will happen, and maybe an asterisk if it does. In the last 5 minutes, Big C, with the NFL draft coming up, and all the talk has been about the quarterbacks. The Cardinals, should they take Kyler Murray number 1 overall? The only former coach, you think about Steve Wilkes, 1 year before him, fired after 1 year. I look at Murray, and you have Rosen. Rosen can't compete with Murray. Just look at what they did in college, and also look at what their draft numbers are looking like. Give me your feeling. I think he's still going to be the number 1. If not, it's going to be the kid out of Ohio State. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you know, you got rid of Steve Wilkes after 1 year as a coach. They said it didn't work.
Yeah.
You know, they say, well, you drafted Rosen last year, first overall, you know, number 11th pick in the draft.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon for a team, Charlton, to choose quarterbacks in back-to-back years.
Yeah.
It's been done before. The Indianapolis Colts in 1982 drafted Art Schlichter out of Ohio State in the first round. Didn't work out. The following year, Charlton, they drafted John Elway in the first round out of Stanford. That didn't work out either because they traded him to Denver. So Indianapolis, I mean, when you look at Arizona, it would not be an oddity for this team to do that. You picked Josh Rosen, who did not pan out the way that you thought that he would. Kyler Murray is the most electrifying player in the draft. You got all the media saying, well, you know, if he doesn't go first, you know, how will the dominoes fall? Why is the media no more than a team? I remember when, before Kingsbury got hired down in Arizona, he said, if I have the number 1 pick overall, I'm taking Kyler Murray. Because he fits what I do. Even when he was a coach at Texas Tech, he said he's the best player in college football to play in the offense that he runs, even though he was an opponent. So all of those things lined up. Why do you hire Cliff Kingsbury to run an offense that you have a quarterback that can't run, an immobile quarterback who stayed injured while he was at UCLA, versus an electrifying quarterback, and everybody wants to say, well, he won't last with 1 or 2 hits in the NFL.
Wow.
Marlon Briscoe was the first diminutive quarterback in the NFL that was African-American with Denver. He was 9-1 as a starter. Fran Tarkenton, when he retired from the Minnesota Vikings, and the New York Giants, he played with both of those teams, was pro football's all-time leading passer.
Yeah.
He was 5'10".
Yeah.
So when you talk about a quarterback who can't make it, Baker Mayfield was 5'10", 5'11" last year, number 1 overall pick out of Oklahoma with the Cleveland Browns. Everyone wants to put something on a black quarterback, something that's a negative.
Yeah.
White quarterback, look at all the 6'5" white quarterbacks that's been drafted in the NFL in the first round. 6'4" quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That none of those guys have ever gotten to a Super Bowl, and some have never had a winning record.
Yeah, that's true, Big C. It's all fair in love and war. He'll get his chance. There's a lot of players out there from Bosa at Ohio State, and even though he has some racial issues, I think media will overlook that. Mainstream will do that. Josh Allen, Kentucky. You have Burns out of Florida State. And then, Montez Sweat, Mississippi State. He was going to be good. Ceylon Farrell out of Clemson. In the last minute, Big C, your thoughts on those potential first-rounders?
Well, Charlton, when we look at the first round of the NFL draft, there's going to be at least 10 defensive linemen go in the first round. People have always talked about quarterbacks. You got to have a quarterback to build a franchise around. You also got to have, ask John Gruden, guys who can rush the passer, who can get to those quarterbacks that you're building a franchise around.
Yeah.
But when you look at the mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, Charlton, you have to have fleet-footed defensive linemen to get after them, and that's why I feel at least 10 of them will go in the first round.
Yeah, well, we know they're going to go somewhere, and hopefully they'll have a great success in the world of NFL. But I just want to close out today's show again because some things are so important. Sometimes when you're starting out, whether it's Big C Sports heard on Apple Podcasts, whether we're heard on Google Podcasts, on the iHeartRadio Network, Big C Sports Network, tuned in, soon coming to Sirius Satellite. There's so much out there in the sports universe. But I tip my hat to Kathy Hughes, net worth $460 million. She founded a radio company called Radio One, which is now known as Urban One, worth $460 million from being told no. From being told no many times. That's perseverance. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, I'm always inspired every day by the African Americans that participate on the sports tables, Charlton, whether it's professional or college, and how they always have to overcome the negativity of white media and how white players throughout society are able to skate through and never get any vitriol.
Yeah, I know, and that's a fact. That's why God created Big C Sports, because we'll give you stuff that you can Google. Speaking of Google, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.